Shavua Tov, a gute Woche, and welcome to our program. Mentioned already on the program that the Rebbe spoke on the night between Chov Zayin and Chov Ches Nisan, Tovshin Nun Aleph, and then the Rebbe said in that Sicha HaYodua, in the known Sicha, as everyone was shocked from the words that the Rebbe used. I did everything I can. I'm giving it over to you. Do everything you can. And many were thinking, is he saying something that we hope he is not saying? And it shocked everyone out of their complacency. In that Sikha, the Rebbe said, I have done everything that I could to bring Mashiach. Mentioned on this program about the Sikha. And about the question, the Rebbe says that he has done everything to bring Mashiach. So what happened? And as Chassidim said, no. So how come he didn't come? What happened? Also, in this Sikha, the Rebbe says in Eis Vov that there is Mesereres the Mio Achik Delo. Now we have the biggest question, the biggest wonder, the biggest Achik Delo. Not just a question, the greatest question. What's the question? Hayitochen shemibli habeit al kol ha'inyonim. How can it be that regardless of all the matters, which means all the good things that we did, that the Rebbe did, we did not affect to bring Mashiach in this world, bepel mamash. And then the Rebbe says, something that is not understood at all and at all, klal uchlal. Printed, muge, edited by the Rebbe. One would ask, number one, it's not understood why Mashiach didn't come. Well, can come a Jew from Chachmei Luzhanke, we know those two, and is going to say, Rebbe, there's something we don't understand. Mashiach didn't come until now because it was not the time to come. It was not the time for Mashiach to come. Here the Rebbe says, something that is absolutely not understood. Klal uchlal, 2 times. And before that, the Rebbe says, to me you achik gedelo, the greatest wonderment. Hachik gedelo, not gedelo. Hachik gedelo, the greatest wonderment. Now one would ask, if that's the question, how come the Rebbe didn't say it on the first night when the Rebbe accepted formally the Nesius, the leadership of Chabad, Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Aleph. The Rebbe didn't say that it's a Tmiyu Achik Delo, that it's the greatest question why Mashiach didn't come. And the Rebbe didn't say Dova She'ene move on Klal Uchlalet, that the fact that Mashiach didn't come is not understood at all. As a matter of fact, these words, the Rebbe didn't say Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Aleph. And he didn't say them Tovshin Chof Aleph, and he didn't say them Tovshin Lamed Aleph, and he didn't say them Tovshin Mem Aleph. He said them Tovshin Nun Aleph. So that in itself is a question. If there is such a great question, how come Mashiach didn't come? How come the Rebbe didn't say that before? How come the Rebbe never said it's the greatest question? How come Mashiach didn't come until now? Such language, the Rebbe never said before. We will return to that in a moment. But first, our customary story. I've experienced this story just maybe less than 2 weeks ago. A man called me, and he said he has a problem with a business partner. And the business partner owes him a lot of money. And he's not paying. They have an arrangement, a written arrangement, and he is not paying. Even took him to court. It's not helping. He's not paying. I said to him, you live in New York. Let's go together to the Ehel. And let's ask the Rebbe for the Baruch. We'll write to the Rebbe exactly what's happening. Ask the Rebbe for the Baruch. We did that. He went to the Ehel, asked the Rebbe for the Baruch. Then he tells me, an hour later, 1 hour later, an hour after he was at the Ehel, he called, that former business partner called to say he is paying the money. 1 hour later. And I'm a witness to this story that just happened less than 2 weeks ago. Rabbi say, concerning our question. The first question is, the Rebbe said, I did everything I could. Now we know in America, somebody says, I did everything I could. What it means. It may mean that he made a phone call, maybe. It may mean today that he sent a text, maybe an email. I did everything I could. But here's the Rebbe saying he did everything he could to bring Moshiach. So this question is begging itself. So what happened? No. So why didn't Mashiach come? The second question we said before. Why is the Rebbe saying it now? It's something that is absolutely not understood. And why didn't the Rebbe say those words before? And then, as mentioned, somebody is going to say, Rebbe, it's not understood. The time of Mashiach didn't come yet. Therefore, in order for us to understand the first question, maybe we should go to the second question. And you know, we Jews, we answer one question with the other. You told the story that a Gentile once said to a Jew, how come you Jews answer one question with the other? The Jew looked at him, he smiled, and he said, and why not? So let's see if we can go to the second question, and maybe that will answer the first question. The second question here, the Rebbe says it's dovel eine muvan klal uchlal. It's not understood at all. A klal uchlal 2 times. Not understood. Why is that? And the Rebbe didn't say it, as mentioned, Yud Shvat of Shin Yud Aleph, or Yud Beis, or Yud Gimel, Yud Aleph, or Chof Aleph, or Lamed Aleph, Mem Aleph. The Rebbe said it only in Nun Aleph. Because in the year Nun Aleph, in the same year, it was Shabbos Parshas Vayeshev. The date was Chof Aleph Kislev. It was the Farbringen following Yutes Kislev. Said the Rebbe, I should say Farbringen following Yutes Kislev, Farbringen of Hasidim, because at that time the Rebbe did not Farbring during the weekdays. On Shabbos, the Rebbe said like this: the Yutes Kislev the Shonozu, Yutes Kislev of this year is Tovshin Nun Aleph. Now we're talking about Chof Aleph Kislev, and then you're talking about Teve Shvat Oder Nisan 4 months later. So this is 4 months before the Sikha. 4 months before the Sikha, the Rebbe says that Yutes Kislev of this year were fulfilled Kuf Tzadik Beis Shono, 192 years of the liberation of the Alter Rebbe of Yutes Kislev the first time. The first time was Tov Kuf Nun Tes, now it's Tov Shin Nun Aleph, 192 years. 192 in Loshen Kodesh, you write a Kuf and a Tzadik and a Beis. Now, the Rebbe says these 3 letters, the Kuf and the Tzadik and the Beis, in a different order. The Kuf, the Beis, and the Tzadik constitute the word Kovatz. Kovatz means that he gathered. Therefore, says the Rebbe, this is telling us, Shekvar nistaimo ho aveda desman hagolus bekibutz ve'asifas anitzeitzitz, that the work, the service that we have performed, that we have to perform in the time of Golus, in gathering And in refining the sparks, this is a Kabbalistic issue, and where it says that there's sparks fell from heaven, Shviras HaKelim, that the heavenly vessels, so to speak, were broken, and therefore the sparks fell down in this heaven, this world, and we have to gather those sparks and elevate those sparks. And this is the work that was given to us. It's called Avedas Abirudim, and Chassidus talks about it all the time in Kabbalah. This is the work that was given to all generations, to gather the sparks, to elevate the sparks, and by doing that, preparing the world for the great redemption. So the Rebbe says it's now 192 years. It's the word, it's the word kovatz. And the Rebbe says in Hagoah, not koivetz, because then you have to put in another vov, says the Rebbe. So then it's going to take longer. But kovatz means he already did. We already gathered and elevated those sparks. And this means that we have completed ho'aveda the Zman HaGolus, the work of Zman HaGolus, bekibutz ve'asifas anitzeitzis, in gathering and purifying and elevating those nitzitzis. Now, the Rebbe then says, in parentheses, Shebishvil zeh hiklo HaKodesh Baruch Hu es Yisrael lebeinu umis, that for this purpose of gathering the sparks and elevating the sparks, Almighty God sent us into exile. So what you have here in this Sicha of Vayeshev Tovshin Nun Aleph is that Histaimo Avedas Abirudim, that the work, the service that we have to do of gathering and elevating the sparks were finished. And the gathering and the elevation of the sparks is there in order to prepare the world for the coming of Moshiach. So now that on Yutas Kislev of Nun Aleph, we have gathered and elevated all the sparks, and therefore we did our job for Moshiach. So now we understand that Rebbe didn't say it Yud Shvat Tovshin Nun Aleph, Tovshin Yud Aleph. Why? Because then we didn't do it yet. So the Rebbe didn't say Asadover Achieine moving klal. It's something that's not understood that Mashiach didn't come. Unfortunately, we didn't at that time. We didn't gather the sparks. We didn't elevate the sparks. Mashiach couldn't come. And therefore, the same thing, not only Yud Aleph, Chof Aleph, and Mem Aleph, and Lamed Aleph, and Mem Aleph, all the years, we did not finish our job. Here, however, it's already 4 months after Yutas Kislev, and we're still in Golus. Says the Rebbe, now we can see the words. Now we can see the words inside. Miseredes to me, the biggest question. The biggest question, because if you're talking about Mashiach didn't come, it's not just a regular question, and it's not even a big question. It's the biggest question that can be. How come Mashiach didn't come? How you talking? How can it be? Independent of all the things that we did, we didn't bring about Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'Peil Mamash that we should see him in this world. Something that is absolutely not understood. Now we understand why it's absolutely not understood. Because it's already 4 months after Yutas Kislev of this year. So therefore, the Rebbe said it now. Now, because, and he didn't say it before, because it's 4 months after Yutas Kislev. Now, with this we understand the first question. The Rebbe said, I did everything. And what was our question? If the Rebbe did everything, how come Mashiach didn't come? And what does it mean the Rebbe did everything? If the Rebbe did everything, how come he didn't come? So here the Rebbe tells us, we should understand. I did everything I could, which means that you need a certain amount of mitzvahs and teiro and mitzvahs and as the Rebbe calls it, good deeds and so on in the Mashiach bank, so to speak, as credit as to prepare the world for Mashiach. And how did it happen? The fact that we have completed the service of Avedis Apirudim didn't happen in a vacuum. It didn't happen by itself. It happened because of the Rebbe's work of Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Aleph. When the Rebbe became a Rebbe, at that time it was far from refining the world. It was far from gathering the sparks. It was far from elevating the sparks. However, the Rebbe, through all the years, from Yud Aleph to Nun Aleph, all of those years, the Rebbe made sure to reach every spark, every part of the world, and gather the sparks and elevate them. So therefore, when the Rebbe says, I did all I can to bring Mashiach, it means exactly that. I did everything I can to prepare the world for Moshiach. Now the world that was not ready before, the world now is ready for Moshiach. And therefore, it's the biggest question. Now you are going to ask a question. So how come he didn't come? So as Chassidim answered, and everybody should answer this question for himself and for herself, that there's one part in the coming of Moshiach that the Rebbe, so to speak, cannot do. And God, so to speak, cannot do. And that is that we should want to go out of Golus. So just to be clear, on the first question, how come it's not moving klal uchlal? Because it's 4 months after Yutes Kislev of Tov Shin Nun Aleph. It's clear in the Sikha. Already 4 months, and by the way, 4 months of not coming Mashiach is a long time. Now, after that, the Rebbe said it many other times. The Rebbe said it in Pashas Bolok Tov Nun Aleph, and in Tov Nun Beis. The Rebbe said it in Pashas Vayera Nun Beis, in Pashas Vayetze Nun Beis, in Pashas Vayishlach Nun Beis. The Rebbe said it on Vov Cheshvu Nun Beis, when the chief rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu came to see him. The Rebbe said it many times after that. However, this time of Pashas Vayeshev Nun Aleph was before the Sikha of Chav Zayin Eilech of Ches Nisan Tovshin Nun Aleph. So this here, the Rebbe said it clearly with the word Kovatz, that this was already done. It's not Koivetz that he's doing, it did already. 192 years from Yutes Kislev. So the Rebbe, and this is absolutely mind-boggling, the Rebbe said, I prepared the world for Mashiach by sending the Shluchim all over, by talking about Teireh mitzvahs constantly, Bati Chabad all over the world. The Rebbe prepared the world for the coming of Mashiach. And therefore the Rebbe says, it's Dover Achi Eine Muven, it's not understood. Because it's already 4 months after Yutes Kislev. Yutes Kislev, the world was already prepared by the Rebbe for Mashiach. I did everything I could, said the Rebbe, to bring Mashiach. And indeed he did. And this is why it's not understood why Mashiach didn't come. Now there's one part that we have to do. And therefore that is up to us. And the ones who will bring Mashiach, as the Rebbe is explaining, the Rebbe said, I'm giving it to you, is each and every single one of us, by making sure that we want Mashiach. And not just saying it, and as it says here, it's not a question of a proclamation, it's not a question of a slogan, it's not a question of a song, ad Mosai. Nevertheless, it's a question of really the way the Rebbe understands, wanting Mashiach to come. And who brings about this victory? The Rebbe in his Maimonim says that the ones who bring about the victory for the king are the Anshe Hasodeh, the foot soldiers, the simple foot soldiers, who say, who am I? It's the foot soldier. The king doesn't go out to conquer a war. The king is in his palace. It's the foot soldiers that go into the world, into the battleground, into the international battleground, to gather everyone and to prepare the world for Moshiach. The Rebbe says that, they bring the victory for the king and for the entire world. So in simple words, the Rebbe says, it is now up to us, to each and every single one of us, And as it seems, because of many reasons, everyone is getting closer with everything that's happening. Everyone is already saying, Rebbeinu Shalom, we want Moshiach. Enough of those tzoros. Enough of the tzoros that happened in Miron. Enough of the tzoros that happened in Stalin. Enough with Corona. Enough with all the problems in the world. Enough with the problems that are happening in Israel now, where innocent men, women, and children can't sleep at night because who knows what's going to happen. Where a mother is afraid to send her child out in the morning to go to school, to go to cheder, and so on. So therefore, we can really see from all of this darkness that everyone wants to get out of Golos, and everyone wants to see the Geulah Amitis V'Yashlemo. And as the Rebbe told us so many times, that we are the last generation of Golos and the first generation of Geulah, and our generation will see with our very own eyes the Geulah Amitis V'Yashlemo. Uva'golo didan uvesimcho uvetuv levov uveteva nile ve'anigle ulemata me'asor tfochim uvechesed uverachamim v'teikef umiyad mamesh.